it on the train.
Yep, that's a good idea. Okay, so this is the IBIS kickoff meeting. IBIS, otherwise the information-based indicator system that New Mexico's Department of Health currently uses. We will discuss some background and things here in a moment. But to begin, I am the facilitator of this meeting. I will also be the project manager for the IBIS project. Just a bit of background for those who might not have been in our meeting just a couple hours ago. I have a strong technical background. I was initially a software developer for several years. I started in defense, working on embedded systems, and then I joined Respec, who is the company that I'm still currently with, doing a lot of custom software development, leading custom software development teams. And then now I've actually transitioned into doing proper project management and business analyst work. So again, I'm very technical. I think that that helps a lot with projects like this, where we're looking at application assessments and things like migrating code bases and all that sort of stuff. I understand very well. So I think that this will be a good amount of synergy for us. So under our attendees, I've listed the folks that I did invite. I do understand we have some more stakeholders, potentially project sponsors that are present here today that I will eventually add to this attendees list. But this was the base list of folks that I had invited, including stakeholders, sponsors, Mika, our sysadmin, our application developers, and then Rod is our GitHub subject matter expert who will be helping with the migration of the code base. Again, we'll get into that here in a little bit. All right, so we have begun the welcome bit. Like I was saying, I'm going to be the project manager with a good technical background. I'll go ahead and start us off on the icebreakers / introduction section. So since we haven't all necessarily worked together, speaking selfishly, I haven't worked with any of you guys yet. So I would like to take some time to get to know people at least a little bit. Just a short introduction to tell us about yourself. And then I do like to hear about, if you have a story of a project that went wrong and what the most important thing you learned from that project is. So if you guys can sort of think on that as others are introducing themselves. The purpose of that exercise is to, consider failures learning opportunities where we can take lessons learned and realize what we can do better in the future and continually improve. So I'll go ahead and begin. Like I was saying, I'm Justin. Aside from the background that I have, I do like to do outdoorsy stuff. So I like to go hiking. I do some mountain biking, normal road bicycling every once in a while. I'm dabbling in running recently. I'm signed up for a 10K here in May, so that should be pretty cool. That'll be the furthest I've ever run. Which would be pretty neat. I actually just recently moved to New Mexico, so I'm newly New Mexican. I was previously in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas for about 10 years. So I'm loving it out here. I think that there are a lot more opportunities for the sort of hobbies that I like to do, going outside and participating in that sort of stuff. So my wife and I have 3 dogs, a Shar-Pei mix, a Lab mix, and a German Shepherd, and they are the light of our lives. So you'll probably hear about them or see pictures of them at some point. I'm always showing them off. So that's a bit about me. I think my best story of a project gone wrong is a project that I was leading for about 4.5 years. There was I'll start with the background of the project. It was for a Fortune 60 company, so very large. We were developing and creating a consolidated payment processor for them. And the project itself went really well, but there were points where it did not go so well. And that was specifically always because of communication. I think there were a lot of instances of people not contributing to tribal knowledge. So instead, having just one-off side conversations that get lost into the ether whenever they're over. So there's no documentation and just a general lack of communication where people are making assumptions or decisions without involving the team and things like that. So the most important thing I learned from that is the importance of communication. something that we did was to try and deter people from having those one-off side conversations and instead having conversations where it's visible to the entire group whenever, that visibility is necessary, and just prioritizing clear communication. I don't think you can ever overly clearly communicate something. So, you can sometimes be very prudent, I think, in just not making assumptions and instead assuming there's at least somebody out there that doesn't have this information or doesn't know what I'm about to say. So that little bit of extra explanation is always, I think, just, appreciated by the team. So yeah, communication, I think is incredibly important. And I think it can definitely make or break a project and make or break a team. So those are my 2 bits. And you guys don't have to go as long as I did. I just wanted to make sure that you understood a bit about me, but short introduction and then an example of a project gone wrong and what you learned from that, if you have one. And I will go ahead and I'm going to go down the list in the list of people. So the way that Teams has you guys listed out to me. So that would be Srinath going first, if you don't mind.
Hi, Justin.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Welcome, Justin. Welcome to the team. We are really excited for your arrival,
you.
actually. Yeah. So, coming about myself, this is Sheena Allah. I have a bachelor's in electrical engineering. I have good experience in Java development. I do have a little bit of experience in Python development. In the backend, in the Java, I do have experience with the Spring Boot, and in the Python, I do have experience with Django framework and those things. I do have a good amount of experience with React. That's about my experience. And coming to the project gone wrong, I would say I don't have anything specifically that got wrong actually, but I would say mostly there would be because of the communication differences, just as Justin told. Uh, it's mostly uh, mostly what I mean. The developers are not able to tell the business people exactly what they are able to deliver, and the business people uh, they won't be understanding perfectly what the developers are going to do. Those kind of communication differences will make the project fail at the end. That's what I think. Yeah, that's it from me, Justin.
Cool. I agree. Again, as having a background of being a developer, I totally understand what you're saying. I think it's very important for there to be clear expectations and communications to developers. Whenever they need to know basically exactly who creates the tickets, how the tickets get assigned, and how things move along in the process of software development. So instead of having just people coming directly to the developer telling you, hey, this needs to get done, this needs to get done, having a clear source and I think workflow of those taskings to developers is very important. So that is something we'll prioritize in this project.
Yeah, I feel you being the PM, because you have the development experience, I think we won't be having those things, those troubles actually.
Let's hope not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Srinath. Marco, you want to go ahead?
Oh, yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Marco Estrada. My background is I have a bachelor degree in computer science. I don't have as much experience as probably you all do. I worked for a few years in Mexico developing for a company. I did databases. Then I moved here and I stopped coding. I went back to school and I got this job, and I'm really excited to learn as much as I can from all of you. And that's pretty much it.
Cool. Fun fact about Marco, I actually knew him prior to joining the team. Marco and I were involved in a deep dive coding boot camp some months ago where he actually presented a really cool project at the end of the cohort and everything. It was neat to get to meet him that way, and I was excited to hear that he was on this team. So I think, Anna, you were using that word synergy, you know, and I think that there's just a lot of things that are coming together. The stars are sort of aligning for us, so it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. It's a nice synchronicity.
Yes, that's a great word for it. Thank you, Marco. Rod, our GitHub SME, would you mind going ahead?
Sure. I was thinking I'd do it toward the end, but anyway, that's okay. Okay, I'm Rod Falanga. Well, I have a bachelor's degree in mathematics. So not programming, but I picked up programming. Yeah, so I'm self-taught. And let's see. I've been doing GitHub, helping with administration, setting up repos and stuff like that in the last year or so, as we're migrating off of TFS. Now for the toughie is a failed project. So I've thought about that a little bit. I'm going to go with my previous job. I worked for UNM for many years, UNM employee and so on, but under contract to the city of Albuquerque. I helped write the applications that were used throughout the city of Albuquerque, people to to enter billing services. What our agency did was we had assessed and referred people with substance abuse issues to clinical businesses throughout Albuquerque. At the heyday, we were treating 3,500 to 4,000 people a year. I'm actually quite proud of that. Unfortunately, how it all failed was a political thing, really. Former President Obama came up with Obamacare, and his promise was that substance abuse issues would be taken care of. Now, nobody knew how, and it wasn't specified, but it was enough to kill that whole organization.
Wow.
Yeah. It's sad. I don't know if there's anything you can do about it. If politics come along and kill something, that's that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it feels like that's something that you wouldn't really have much control over.
No, not at all.
But the work sounds impactful.
It was very impactful. It was
yeah.
I was incredible. I would go to meetings sometimes, seeing former drug or alcohol addicts and how thankful they were. I mean, it was real clear the work we were doing impacted people's lives, and I was very proud of that. So it was sad when it all came to an end.
Sure, I imagine. Yeah.
Okay, that's it for me.
Cool. Well, thank you, Rod. Heidi, looks like you were next.
Okay. Heidi Kraffel. I'm the acting division director of the Epidemiology and Response Division with the Department of Health, and basically my entire career has been with Department of Health, but I started off in diabetes, and then I went to environmental health, which is my background. I have a master's of science in environmental health, and I grew up primarily in Colorado, but have spent the last 24 years or so in New Mexico. So I'm definitely a Western gal and love the outside and the climate, etc. I don't know that I can say about a failed project, because of course I'm involved, and some of them are discrete projects, but some of them are not. I guess what I will just say is that I've been involved in plenty of projects that have had bumps and red tape and everything possible where you're not achieving what you want in the timeline you originally set out to do. And so the things I've learned is, yes, definitely communication, flexibility, and creativity, and trying to figure out a different way to do things. So yeah, glad to meet everybody, and I'm really excited that we're starting this, because IBIS needs a makeover, and so it's overdue. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Heidi. I think you've inspired me, and some of these answers have inspired me to potentially reword my question here. I mean, even my answer to the project gone wrong was a project that ultimately succeeded, but maybe, like you said, had a few bumps along the way. So maybe I can find a way to reword it so that it's not just total failure, but just something that was a hurdle that maybe you worked through or something along those lines.
Yep.
And then I think people have probably mispronounced your name even more than mine, but I also have the PF in there where the P is silent. So
yeah,
kindred
Kraffel,
spirits.
if you're in Germany, then it would be Krapfel, but then that would just throw everybody for a loop. So yeah, Kraffel.
Yep. Cool. Thank you, Heidi. Chelsea, it looks like you were next.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Langer. I'm an epidemiologist with the Environmental Public Health Tracking Program, which is kind of the sister program to IBIS. So background, I have a PhD in environmental and occupational epidemiology. I grew up in New Mexico. I went away for a while, 20 years, and came back a few years ago, which is very nice to be back. I agree with Heidi's assessment on, I wouldn't call this a failed project, but I was thinking about this, and in a previous position, I was a coordinator for a big multinational project that had a lot of bumps along the way, but one that really stuck out to me was just it seemed like everyone was very over optimistic and over promised. And so I take it as, trying to be as realistic as possible with expectations on what we can accomplish given the budget in a reasonable time frame. And I still lean towards over optimistic, but try to rein myself in to be, set myself up for success. And this is what we can actually accomplish given the budget and the time frame. So it's nice to meet everyone.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you. All right. I think everybody knows Anna, but Anna, if you want to go ahead and give a short introduction anyway, that'd be great.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for calling into this meeting. As I think most of you know, am the new manager of the maintenance and support team under ITSB, ADSB. I report to Shauna, and the M&S team is about 18 people large. Justin is our newest addition, and we're really happy to have him. We also have Pam Flores, a PM from Respec as well. And, Mika Nussbaum and I have spent the past 3 months working with Heidi and Stephanie and others to collect information about this project. So I think I can speak for Mika as well, that we're really excited that we're at this point. I'm here to support Justin as the PM on this project. So again, really excited. And let's see, something about me. I am native New Mexican, spent probably 25 years out of the state, came back in 2010. I'm happy to be back supporting the Department of Health in this role. Thanks, Justin.
Absolutely. Thank you, Anna. Stephanie, would you like to go ahead?
Sure. My name is Stephanie Moraga McKaylee, and I am the program manager for the New Mexico Environmental Public Health Tracking Program. and our main product is the NM tracking data portal, which, as Chelsea mentioned, is the sister to NM IBIS. I am a native New Mexican. I have a master's in environmental health, as does my colleague Heidi. We went to the same school, CSU, go Rams. Let's see. A project that failed. I consider this a project that almost failed. The IBIS project, transition project, was sitting there due to the fact that we couldn't get a contract going with the previous contractor. That was a software technology group, and time kept rolling on, and in a last ditch effort, I submitted a PSR, and I'm having a really good feeling that my failure will turn into everyone else's success real soon here. I'm very excited. One other thing about me is I will be stepping off of the role from the manager for the tracking program at the end of this month. And so Chelsea will be acting in my place until we hire a permanent person, which should happen pretty quickly. I think that's about it.
Okay. Thank you, Stephanie. And I guess we have you to thank for this group being together, at least to some capacity. So do appreciate you making that effort.
No, I appreciate everyone's support. I mean, this is great that we have a team. I'm very excited.
Right. Yep. Okay. And then I believe I've heard it pronounced Mika. I might initially assume Micah, but would you like to go?
It's Mika. Thank you.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, this is Mika Nussbaum from application support. Let's see, I'll start with, I grew up in upstate New York, and then got out of there when it got too cold and went to California for quite a bit of time, and then ended up in New Mexico and haven't moved a muscle for 25 years. So then I've been with the Department of Health that long. I love it here. I like the outdoors as well, as we talked about on a previous call, skiing, hiking, running, that kind of thing. And I've been thinking back as everyone else has been speaking, and I'm absolutely positive there hasn't been a single project that has failed, run into bumps, run into any delays, or gone wrong in any way possible that I can think of with Department of Health.
Is that right?
No, that was a joke.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I honestly can't think of any failed ones because we kind of just persevere, but there have definitely been some that have gone on too long and run into bumps and all kinds of things. And I think, some of the things that I've gotten out of all of that is the importance of having regular check-ins with the team, I think, is critical. Clearly defined roles on the team, and realistic expectations. And those are all helpful. I know that mostly falls under communication lines, but I think, excited about this project, hope to keep it moving in the right direction. And I guess the other thing is we always have to look out for funding meteors that come out of nowhere, that kind of thing. So that's basically it.
Awesome. Thank you, Mika. I think that those were all very good points and things that we should take into account in terms of the suggestions that you made.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anusha, would you like to go?
Yeah, Justin. Hello, everyone. Myself, Anusha Palapu. I have completed my PhD in business administration and management with majors in computer science from California. And yeah, after that, I worked, after my PhD, I worked as some teaching profession as well. And later on, I moved into the software applications. I worked with American Express and Goldman Sachs and yeah, major banking sector, Citigroup and Bank of America. And I though and basically I'm a full stack Java developer. So I worked Java and front end technologies like Angular and React JS. Um, that was pretty much about my tech stack. And but majorly I work hobbies is like I'm into photography basically. I like clicking pictures of people and the nature. And I'm a good table tennis player too. uh,
Oh, cool.
other than other than that, thank you. Coming to the project failures, I think majorly when I was working, I remember when I was working in 2018 with Independence Blue Cross, that was a fail. I prefer it is a project failure of the project because of lack of transparency. They don't, the team meetings wouldn't happen properly, or the main, the scheduled meetings maybe. uh, the team, most of the team is in India and some of the team is in US. So they, before, because of the time differences and in some of the transparency of lack of the transparency of the data, and maybe scheduling delays of meetings as I mentioned, and poor communication, which is a major source. And also with the limited resources in the project, that mostly brings project failure according to my opinion. So that's what I feel. And yeah, that's all. And I joined in the NMDOH in July. So since then, I was working in ITST department as an application developer, where I'm working currently in EIS project as a UI developer with working on React JS. That's all about me.
Wonderful.
And
Thank you.
guys. Thank you.
I am a firm believer in transparency, so I'm glad that you used that word. I think the lack of transparency can certainly be the downfall of an entire team or project. So yeah, I am in agreement with you there. And then yes, the time zones thing can definitely present some issues, but I think that fortunately we're all in I think at least similar enough time zones, and it shouldn't hopefully be too much of a problem on this project.
Yeah.
All right. Last but not least, I believe we have Christopher, if you wouldn't mind giving us a short intro.
Absolutely. I might take a little bit longer. No, I'm just kidding. Morning, good afternoon, I should say, and welcome, Justin, to New Mexico. My name is Christopher Whiteside. I'm the Bureau Chief of the Community and Health Systems Epidemiology Bureau, where IBIS is housed. I've been in this position since December. I was acting for a couple of months before that. Before that, I was a health equity epidemiologist, so my background is in epidemiology. I have a MPH with a focus on research epi. I enjoy a lot of things you do, Justin. You're going to love New Mexico. I've been at the Department of Health for almost 10 years. It'll be my 10th year, originally from California, to where I grew up in both Southern and Northern California, but I consider Northern more home than Southern. A project that I can't think of one particular project, but I would just say things that I think are important for a project to go well and to be successful are stuff we already mentioned, which is communication. One of the things that I think that we're having trouble here at the Department of Health is just a lack of capacity for people to do the project. But since we have some turnover, I think it's important for people to be for roles to be well defined and also for people who are leaving to, it would be nice to have, you know, some document to kind of communicate what's going well, what went wrong, so the next person that joins the project and takes over, you know, has a really great idea of what worked well and what they need to do to continue the project. So I'll just say that, and nice to meet you all.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. All right. So unfortunately on my desktop, I actually lost internet connection. We've been having issues with that in the office today. But I am now joined on my phone and I can continue to narrate through our schedule. I just won't be able to share the screen until the internet comes back up. All right, so we'll move into project background, which we'll get through pretty quickly. IBIS, or the Information-Based Indicator System, was created in 1996. You've probably heard of the contractor STG, Software Technology Group, and I believe their sub based out of New Mexico here called Data Files. So that's Lois and Paul are a team that have been maintaining the Information-Based Indicator System for many, many years. The system was created as part of a 5-state co-op with Hawaii, Utah, New Jersey, and Maryland. And its primary purpose is that it is the source for data and information on our state's priority public health issues. It provides data and information to help realize New Mexico's health goals. So those bits are from the actual IBIS website that I looked up and did some investigation on. It is currently used by hospitals, insurance companies, the public, and those in academia doing research, such as students and professors. It is currently developed in Java, but will need to be redeveloped into .NET as part of the effort for the DOH to take over the code base. And a code analysis and assessment needs to be performed before we work on the redevelopment. That will be the purpose and initial role for our 3 application developers. Anna, is there anything that you would like to add for project background?
I'll try to keep it short since we only have another 24 minutes, but we have strong project sponsors, and we have collected a lot of information. We have documented a lot of things. As Stephanie mentioned, we now have a short-term maintenance and support contract with Data Files. Mika also knows a lot about the information that we've collected so far. We've met with Hawaii, and Justin has access to all of the information that we've collected, smart sheets that we've put together, as well as the SharePoint site. And I think you did a great job, Justin. Thank you.
Cool, thank you. So like I was saying, that's a bit of background on the IBIS project. And again, the ultimate goal here, which we'll get into project goals here in a second, is to, at the end of all of this, have a system that the DOH maintains themselves, redeveloped in .NET, utilizing the tech stack that is preferred by the DOH, and again, with the code being owned by the Department of Health. So we will begin. I thought it would be useful to begin working on a vision statement for our project that we can use throughout the project, and it will effectively help us have a shared understanding of what our goals are, and also it can double as an elevator pitch if you're able to remember it. It should be pretty straightforward. So again, I would be sharing my screen for this exercise, but I don't have the ability to do that right now. So what we need to identify is our customer, the name of the project, our problem statement, a comparison point, and a differentiator. So we'll walk through all of those. I think it would be fair to say that the customer is the state of New Mexico. Would everybody agree with that? State of New Mexico encompassing New Mexican residents and everybody else that's using the system.
I think we also maybe should be a little more specific, Heidi, would it be vital records? Or should we include other groups?
Well, I mean, you know, I mean, it would be the Department of Health, it would be New Mexico resident. There's multiple customers. And so I just don't know how specific we want to be on that. Because we could list, you know, we could say we could list multiple customers. It depends on how we're gonna find, is the customers who's gonna use the site. Yeah, so
that's the angle is who's using it. Would we, at least for right now, be able to maybe say the state of New Mexico and its residents? Would that work?
mhm.
Okay.
Stephanie, Christopher, Chelsea, chime in if you disagree.
Well, I don't want to disagree, but
Okay.
our funders are in large part CDC. So would they be included in the customer pool or?
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think that's legitimate. So
Yeah.
CDC,
Or
city,
stakeholder.
CDC. Yeah,
more of a
Yeah.
stakeholder. Yeah.
okay. So the customer is the state of New Mexico, and then if we have stakeholders, then maybe that's where we break it out, because then that's where you get, I like that, Anna, because that's where you get into, you know, the legislature, Department of Health, other agencies that use the data, et cetera.
Right. So I would agree then.
What about
Okay.
ERD, Heidi?
Yeah, I mean, right. So ERD, PhD, multiple divisions as stakeholders, for sure.
Should we keep it at the state of New Mexico, or should we mention maybe and its stakeholders or something along those lines? I think maybe stakeholders are a bit separate from what we're trying to establish here, just being that the people that are logging into not even logging in, but just, you know, going to the website and utilizing the system. Do we feel like that's encompassed by saying the state of New Mexico?
We could, or I like to get a little bit more specific, but you know, we can refine the list later, Justin.
Okay. Yeah, I think for now I'll just tack on and its stakeholders, and then maybe we can make that a little more specific later on.
Sounds good.
Cool. So our problem statement. You know, what is the problem that the IBIS solves? I think does it do something, provide something, or solve something? And I think it provides, you know, health information to those who are looking to seek it, either for research purposes or grant purposes, whatever else, right? How would we want to word that?
You should jump in, Stephanie. I would just vote public health as opposed. I would vote for public health as opposed to health, because that gets us in trouble. So
Right. Right. So I would say provides public health information and data for what's a host of purposes, but it is the ultimate purpose is to improve the health of New Mexicans.
Great, I love that. So I've got provides public health information and data to improve the health of New Mexicans.
Yes.
I think that's great. Okay, so our comparison point in this case, where usually it might be a competitor or maybe a competing system, I think what we're trying to rectify, because this system already exists, is saying maybe unlike the current IBIS platform or system, it will be maintained by the DOH and written in .NET. Is that fair to say that that's our primary shift that we're looking to get out of this project?
Possibly. However, Justin, as I think Mika and I mentioned when we first, met about the project, there's a decision point that we have to make collectively. Do we develop in-house in .NET, or do we jump on the IBIS co-op bandwagon as they're currently considering issuing an RFP to hire one vendor to do a rebuild of the system for all 5 states. So is that something that we want to participate in? Do we want to go that route? And there was a third option, I think, that we also talked about. So what is that third option? Do you remember, Justin? We could even theoretically hire, a vendor unassociated with the IBIS co-op to do the development in .NET. So there are really 3 options before us, as I can see it. And we've got to make that decision in collaboration with Heidi and Stephanie and Christopher and the whole team as soon as possible, so that then we can pursue that direction.
Can I ask a question here? And please forgive my ignorance. Why is .NET the decided development?
It's because the application support team here, or M&S team, we refer to ourselves both ways, but we're a .NET shop. So one of the reasons that we brought Anusha and Marco and Trinath onto the team is because they have Java skills. So they're going to be able to take a look at the current code. And then if we decide to do the development in-house, then we'll work together with some of our other developers possibly to rewrite it in .NET. But that's why, Stephanie, because we're a .NET shop for the most part. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, and that's something I'm trying to get at, Anna, is that I think we determined, regardless of who creates or redevelops the system, that .NET is a requirement for you. I guess maybe if you guys were to participate in the co-op and they said Java, then that could be like I don't know, it could be a deal breaker or something that we need to consider. But ultimately, .NET is the preferred technology. And I think the end goal, regardless of which option we go with, is that the DOH owns the code base and, effectively owns the system, right? That you maintain the IBIS system.
Okay.
Is that fair to say?
You.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so I think
just a quick clarifying question. How hard is it if we're gonna, so DOH maintains the let's just say we have our own code base and system, and so how easy is it to maintain the .NET system, and what's required for that? Like, can epidemiologists, relatively easily help out with maintaining this, or is this mostly an IT applications developer task? I'm just trying to get a sense of requirements for updating.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Justin.
I was just going to say, yeah, it would be an application developer task. What the process would likely look like if the epidemiology team needed or would like to request improvements or changes to the system is that you guys would do so through a formal process of creating a ticket. The IT team would assign that to an application developer after estimating it and all of that. And then, create that implementation for that to then be improved and deployed to the production environment. So to answer your question, epidemiologists would not be able to get in there and assist with the actual code unless they, previously had development experience and they were cleared to do that. It would mostly be like an IT managed application where epidemiologists and others would be able to use the app and then request improvements to it through the IT team.
Okay, and then just a follow up is, so oftentimes what we have to do is we have to update data. So you'll have the 2021 death data, and then 2022 death data needs to be updated. So you're saying that when we say, hey, we need the 2022 death data updated, that you're saying the IT application developer, we would put a ticket in, and then the IT application developer would say, okay, yep, I'm going to update the 2022 death data on the new system.
That would likely be the process. It would be possible to discuss having a set of epidemiologists that have the ability to update the data themselves. But the more we open the ability to update data within the system to others, the more likely we're going to get, invalid or incorrect data. So typically it's a request sort of based system where if you need that to be updated, like you suggested, you would request that update, provide the data that needs to be updated, and then it would be done by the IT team.
Okay, and yeah, just to note what Chelsea has said in the chat is that she said, one nice thing now is she can update the portal, which makes things faster to get things into production. And then, so we can keep that in mind, and it could be like, you'd have like 1 or 2 people for each data source. So for example, 1 person for birth and death data, 1 person or 1 to 2 people for hospitalization data, 1 people, et cetera. And then one thing I just wanted to go back to, and it's not a big deal, but it's just because it makes my brain hurt. So it's the indicator-based information system. You just have the information and the indicator backwards.
My bad. Yeah.
No worries.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and Heidi, let me just add that if you guys have a requirement that there's folks on program who need the ability to update data, then we can certainly add it as a requirement for the project.
I think we should. We should.
Okay.
Stephanie, Chelsea, Christopher, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that's going to be really important, because that's where we spend a ton of time right now. So if that whole, the whole beauty of the IBIS system was that the subject matter experts could go in and update their own indicator reports, which was really tedious, but it worked for a while until we lost a lot of institutional knowledge, and just lost a lot of people. So it's going to be an entirely different dynamic, and I'm afraid that people would really balk at not being able to control their data in a timely manner.
Makes sense. Yeah, so we'll definitely work with you. I think we need to understand like specific use cases, but that's something that we can definitely include as a requirement, and then we can figure out the details as we go.
Great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Justin, I think the current system does the job actually. I did look into the documentation. The current IBIS system, it gives people access to enter data into one database actually. There are 2 different databases. One is related to, give me a second, actually. I always forget the names. Indicator reports, and what's the other report?
Okay.
The community reports. Those 2 reports are auto-generated. Once the people, I think the business people enters the data, they will be getting auto-generated. And there are query-based pages. I think those pages we need to update by ourselves, I think.
Okay, great. That is good to know. Yeah. I do want to say that we're very early on in the phases of requirements gathering and everything. So that will be the purpose and intention of that phase, will be to understand exactly what our stakeholders need, what our sponsors need, and what the average user will need as well. So if the ability to update your own data without needing to involve the IT team is a requirement, we can certainly include that and put that into the application. All right. Without further ado here, I'll read aloud a vision statement that we have just created. So for the state of New Mexico and its stakeholders, the indicator-based information system provides public health information and data to improve the health of New Mexico. Unlike the current IBIS system, it will be developed using .NET, and DOH will own the source code. How's that?
Good.
Cool.
Nice.
Awesome. We have a vision statement. Isn't that great? And I'll make sure that this is probably plastered somewhere on our smart sheets or something like that, so we can all be reminded of what it is we're trying to accomplish. But fortunately, this one is pretty straightforward, I think. So with the success measures, because we are running out of time, I think I already had some in mind, a success indicator being similar to our differentiator up here, just that it will be developed using .NET, either by an external vendor, the co-op vendor, or internally, and that the DOH will maintain the system and own the source code. I think those indicators and the metrics by them are pretty simple. Does anybody else have anything in mind that would be a potential success indicator of the project?
Okay, just off the top of my head, just if we're jotting things down, I would say that stakeholders are able to access the most recent available public health data for various purposes.
Okay. I like that. Anybody else have any other indicators of what the successful system would look like?
I would recommend, oh, go ahead, Stephanie, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I would just say the completeness of the data and ensuring that all the available data systems that we have here are migrated. There are some that are not yet included in IBIS and kind of need to be, including our syndromic surveillance system.
Okay. Anna?
Yeah, I would recommend that we identify some very quantitative key performance indicators, Justin. Not too many, because sometimes that can just get in the way. But if, for example, we want to have so many people visiting the associated IBIS website by a certain date, that's a possible KPI. Or I don't know, another one might be number of people actually logging into the application. These are things that we've been thinking about on the vaccine registration project. So we want people to visit and use the application. So that's something that we can, think about and come up with later, the exact thresholds.
Definitely, yeah. I think that's a great idea, and those two are good examples of what we could establish as KPIs. I agree that we should have, because we have the concept of the ability to access data and the concept of data being complete, but those aren't exactly quantitative, like you're saying, right? Have some KPIs that we can actually measure would be good as well. Cool. Well, I've made a note of that, and I think probably Anna, you and I can begin by discussing that maybe with Shauna, and then communicating our thoughts to the rest of the team based on what we've come up with. That works for you?
Sounds good.
Awesome. Okay, so we are at the tail end of the meeting. I just have a couple of other things that I'd like to go over. So for logistics and communications, Microsoft Teams for quick discussions. I think we should use email for conversations that require visibility, especially if we are roping in or communicating with other teams. And then scheduled meetings for larger discussions. I do try to avoid meetings that could have been an email. We've all had that feeling and that thought. And then I've also been instructed to avoid meetings during lunch or after 4 p.m. Based on just the folks that work in different time zones and things. 4 p.m. sort of late for others. So I will avoid that as best as I can. But I think this is all pretty much in line with other DOH projects that we'll just use Teams for discussions, emails for visible conversations, and scheduled meetings that need to happen with larger groups that would be easier to hash out verbally. And then I will be establishing a once weekly recurring meeting for our team involving everybody that would like to come to those. We can include project sponsors and stakeholders just as optional attendees. It'll, so that you guys always have the ability to join, but it will largely be a working session for the team that is working on things on a daily basis. So we'll meet weekly for that. And then finally, I have a couple of action items that I've established here. I'm definitely willing to take on some more if people can think of them. But first, I'm just going to schedule those recurring meetings. I will try to find a time that works in everybody's week by tomorrow. I am out of office starting on Friday, and then I will return on next Thursday. And yeah, again, I'll try to have that meeting sent out before then. We probably won't meet next week, with that being the case of me being out. And we'll begin meeting the following week, which would be the week of the 18th. And the second action item I had established was, especially now that we've heard that the contract has been executed, I think our next biggest step that will unblock us and our progress will be transferring the code to GitHub in a place that the DOH maintains. Rod, I believe that is on you. Is that correct?
Correct.
Awesome. Okay. And I don't think that we have a due date on that one yet. That might be hard to establish just because I think you're dependent on getting with Paul and the other SFTP action item. So do you have a ballpark of when you might be able to get it done?
No, not really. I'm trying to find out if Paul can get to our secure FTP site. So
right. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'll speak with you. Further. Just keeping me up to date, I think, on the progress of that later on. But okay. Anna, did you have any other action items in mind at the end of this meeting?
No, I don't think so. But you all have access to the team contact list now. And Justin, let's just make sure, I guess, that everyone on the team has access to all the artifacts. Some of them are just going to be view only, like, the dashboard, the schedule. That way there's complete visibility into what's going on. We have something called a CRADE log, everybody, which we've already started when we first started meeting with Stephanie and Heidi. And it's a smart sheet where we put, changes, action items, risks, issues, and decisions. And that helps us, stay on track in addition to the schedule. So we'll make sure you all have access, either edit or view only. And thank you all for calling in. Thanks, Justin. Great meeting, everybody.
Stephanie, real quick, I think you've got a hand up.
If Justin, if you want to forward that meeting to anyone else on the team that might go, feel free. The one on Monday or Friday that you won't be able to make. Thanks.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate your time. Sorry for going over. We covered a lot. I do appreciate you all joining. That's about it for now. Like I said, I'll get those recurring meetings out, and then we'll start going through the CRADE log and everything that Anna mentioned on a weekly basis, and checking in on our tasks and action items.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thanks,
guys.
Justin.
See you later, team.
Thank you.